Well, good morning, Kuntay. Good to see you again. I'm glad we can meet in a coffee shop.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sorry that I didn't really have a good coffee shop today, but it's good to see you.
I know, I can't believe that the last time we met in person was more than 5 years ago in a coffee shop in San Francisco. And back then,
Indeed.
CTOs wasn't even a company. We haven't done any of these conferences, and I know very little about 3D printing. But I think what really excited me to meet you was that we share the same passion and excitement for 3D printing and how it can change the world. But many years has passed, and BTech has really grown to a very successful company in Turkey and even in the world. So I really would like to just hear, your journey in the last couple of years. I know when we met in San Francisco, that was still the early age of BTech, and ever since there are a lot of things happened. You want to share a little bit with us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you said, it was years ago, and a lot of people were not aware of the 3D printing technology in general. And when you look at the medical application, there were only a few examples. But when you look at the market today, the technology evolved, and it became a part of the medical treatments, which excite us a lot. And we are working hard to find new applications and to help people in the surgery room and also during their treatments. And we are also working hard to implement 3D printing technology to hospitals in order to use some pre-surgical models, some guides, and even implants. And in the future, I believe that 3D printing is going to become a part of the surgery room, and you can easily print some tissues and organs. And there's a path that a lot of people are following in order to reach that. We know that it is not easy. But on the other hand, I believe that we are quite close to that target. So I'm really happy to being a part of this ecosystem, and the technology and our companies are evolving very fast. And it's good to be a witness of this change.
Yeah, the other thing that's really impressed me during your written interview, which were already published, is that you actually scrub into some of these surgeries. You actually observe the surgeries along with the surgeons and then figure out a strategy. First of all, how did the hospital allow you to be able to work so closely with them? And then what does it feel like to work with a specialty that you didn't know before?
Yeah, I have a engineering background, so I have no interest on medical stuff. But my first job was in a military hospital, and actually engineering is a part of the surgeries. I mean, some engineers was going into the surgeries to help surgeons for some of the equipments. But the reason why we are there was usually to understand how 3D printing or how the engineering can help them. And when you go into the surgery for the first time, of course, it's a bit of scary, a bit bloody, let's say. But when you have the patient, you get used to that so easily, and then focus on to observing that what can be done, because it is very crucial. It's not like designing something on the computer because you're designing on a pure bone without any fat, any tissue, any blood. But when you go there, you see how hard to make the things really happen. So you need to understand what's going on there, and you need to understand what they exactly need, and then you can find a solution for the surgeons for the patients. That's why, in the beginning, it was a bit challenging as an engineer, but you get used to that so easily. And on the other hand, you really enjoy it, having a touch in the patient lives. That's really important.
Yeah, we also discussed a little bit about applications, and it sounds like BTech was focusing on CMF, their craniofacial maxillary reconstruction area, and then now there is a shift towards orthopedics. Do you want to share with us how you navigate from different applications and figure out how to fit 3D printing?
Yeah, I think the reason why we started with CMF is that the implants that we use, they are more usually static. They're not under a load, or they're not under some cyclic forces or something like that. That's why it's relatively simpler than in orthopedic cases. And the regulatory base, they're also simpler than the orthopedic cases. That's why we start mostly on the cranial implants. And then we had some cases with temporomandibular joints and some facial implants. And then we decided to make more research on the orthopedics, because it's a totally different world. And you need, you may face with fatigue failure, you may face with the static failure, and also the material properties are very important. And also integration is quite an important part of this process. That's why we start to make research about lattice structures in order to understand how bone growth is changing on different types of lattice structures. And after, I think, 2 years of R&D, we decided to launch our first product, the TrapTech. It's actually an EBM manufactured hip cup. And that's why we started. And meantime, we, of course, we were doing patient-specific implants for revision cases for orthopedic, and also some tumor cases. But I mean, designing something for serial production is totally different than a patient-specific case. And I sometimes say that I wish we started from orthopedic, but on the other hand, I'm aware that it was really hard starting point.
Yeah, I still remember the case that you described in the written interview, talking about a patient, a young patient that you guys treated. And I believe that's a CMF case. And even though it's just the N of one, but it was very impactful in your career because it shows you how you can change patients' lives.
Indeed.
Now, just going back a little bit about the first time when we met in San Francisco, you obviously were on your journey to become a great entrepreneur. But being an entrepreneur in San Francisco is probably very different from in Turkey. So you want to just share us with the story behind how, what does it feel like to be an entrepreneur in Turkey?
I mean, when you look in general, it's not very different. What is different is the competition and the resources. I mean, being an entrepreneur in San Francisco is great, but also it's very challenging, because the level of expectation is high. You need to work very hard. You can get access to funds, but on the other hand, you may fail very fast either. So that's why it was some kind of exploration phase for us. I mean, we just wanted to go there and see if there's a potential for medical 3D printing, or it is the right place, or we also look for some collaboration opportunities, because I know that the people in California are more open to try new things or explore new things or deep dive in some dedicated topics. That's why it was a little bit interesting for us, but we also realized that it's not something that you can do something here and go there sometime and manage the things. I mean, I think you need to be there physically in order to be a Californian entrepreneur. When you go back to Turkey, I mean, it is also a great country for developing some medical products, because like 70 million people is living in Turkey, so it's not a small number. But on the other hand, the reimbursement and the bureaucracy is not easy. So you need to deal with a lot of stuff in addition to your technical challenges. But still, I mean, you can do great things, because the Turkey is location that it's very close to Europe. Yeah, I mean, you can go to anywhere in a couple of hours. Like, you can go to Middle East, you can go to Russia, you can go to Europe. So I think this is a good advantage, and this helped me a lot to learn a lot from many companies and many technology leaders. That's why I'm not very unhappy about being an entrepreneur in Turkey.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, thanks very much for the interview today. I know you have some great announcement to make for your new product.
Yes, we do.
You want to just share one line about what that is?
Well, I mean, we have new products coming, but we also have serious R&D projects about the biodegradable implants, which I believe will be a very big part of the future implants. Because when you implant something into a patient, you help them, but also you take some risk. But if we can make something from the patient's own tissue, then you really lower the risk, and I believe that's the future. And we will have something to share about that.
That's great. I very much look forward to your presentations in June, joining our 3D Heals 2020 virtual conference. And I certainly hope that we can meet again in a coffee shop sometime after this COVID-19 crisis. And perhaps—
let's cross the fingers.
Yes, and perhaps you can set up a shop in San Francisco or the Bay Area as well. And thank you very much for your time today. And we'll keep in touch. Thanks.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.